The number one reason they don't buy is because they just don't trust you. They don't believe that it's going to be worth their time. And so the objection prehab funnel is all about how do we get them in a state of mind where they know that this is going to be worth their time and that they're excited that they finally found someone who actually understands them and that they can believe in the outcome that you're promising. Because most people have tried a lot of different things. They've heard so many promises, and those promises almost always fall wildly short of the mark. And so
Hey, welcome back to the show. I have Jordan Mather here on the pod, a clinical marketer. You guys know him. What's crazy is that I've never spoken with him until right now. We hit live. He's an energetic, forward-thinking helper and leader in the physical therapy world. And Jordan, just wanted to have you on. I wanted to reach out. Ben Baggy helped with the intro, but great to have you on. I know you do a ton to help practice owners, specifically cash-based practice owners. Just give the audience a brief background if they don't already know you. And then we're going to get into the topic of the prehab funnel and how you have new grads and other cash-based therapists that are selling packages, 3 to 5 packages a week with ease, which I know it's possible, but maybe sounds a little impossible for some. But maybe like a brief bio, who you are, and we'll get into the topic.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. I've been a fan of you and the show for a really long time, and I completely agree. It's insane that this is the first time that you and I are connecting. But for everyone who's listening, my name is Jordan Mather. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Clinical Marketer, where we help cash physical therapists, and physical therapists basically learn how to ethically influence their communities, to show them what physical therapy can really do for them in transforming their lives, and how to launch and grow and scale their own practices where they're able to treat who they want, how they want, and most importantly, when they want, so that they can really leave their impact on the industry that they want to make. So that's what we do and who I am.
Excellent. And you've been doing it for many years. I know you were around pre-COVID, and obviously COVID was a disruption.
Oh, yeah.
But here we are kind of post-COVID, and it seems like the cash-based physical therapy world is growing. Premiums and deductibles are higher than ever. Wages are not increasing, but somehow in certain pockets, there's therapists like us and other practices out there that are making or charging what they want or what they believe they're worth. And then there's certain patients that are okay with that and that proceed. And maybe it's not for everyone, but it definitely seems like a changing tide, at least in the physical therapy part of healthcare.
Right. Yeah, it's really exciting and scary at the same time how much change is actually happening. But yeah, to your point, I did exist before Alex Hormozi released his $100 million offers book, where the industry got bombarded by new marketing and coaching experts. I've been doing this since I was 18 years old, when I built a physical therapy software company that I ran for a few years. And then a few years before COVID, I started really falling in love with the business side of running practices and the teaching people how to convey like what their true value was, to help guide patients who don't realize what physical therapy really is towards using that as their primary mode of staying healthy and being active and being the type of person that they want to be. So I've been doing this definitely for a long time, and I'm glad, because now I was able to see how the industry has changed and morphed over the years. And right now we're kind of in a little bit of a physical therapy renaissance, where things have gotten so bad where now the industry is tilting towards motivated and fed up entrepreneurs are getting to kind of step up and innovate and start to change the narrative around what physical therapy is and what it's going to be in the future. So it's a really exciting time to be in this industry and to get to be a part of that change.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said in the pre-interview, I know I've been seeing the objection prehab funnel Facebook ads that you guys are running. We'll get into that. So tell us, like, now, and I'm assuming I'll make some assumptions. Like, we do some of these callbacks with prospective patients. We accept maybe 5 out-of-network insurances, but where we're billing their out-of-network insurance. But for the most part, we're strictly cash. We're strictly out of pocket for the most part. And we have to communicate why we're out of pocket or why we don't accept the insurance anymore. And we can go into that, but I'm assuming, because I don't know much about this, you're going to teach me, you're going to teach us about the objection prehab funnel, but I'm assuming it helps, or maybe you have ads or content or emails or something that is being sent to this prospective patient to ask them questions, to maybe have a different focus or a different attention point around their situation, as opposed to them focusing on their insurance. And maybe it kind of helps to pre-qualify or helps prevent the folks that are going to say, hey, do you take my insurance? Or, I mean, that's a big one. Or
Yep.
maybe I need to talk to my spouse about it, or I don't have I don't have budget or resources to pay for that out of pocket right now. So we'll get into the training, because I'm definitely eager to kind of learn what you guys are doing.
Yeah. So just from like a high level view, the objection prehab funnel, it isn't one thing. It's an ecosystem of steps that ethically build authority with your brand and overcome the fears and doubts that people have about treatment, and position you as head and shoulders above what anyone else is doing. And it does it in a sequence so that by the time you're actually having the conversation, where you're actually having the evaluation, they've already decided that they want to work with you long term. Because right now, the traditional model of sales that is being taught, it puts all of the pressure of the sale on a 60-minute evaluation, which is a tremendously small amount of time to be able to give your prospects and your patients the amount of context that you have as the provider on why going cash is better for their long-term outcome. And so what our system does is it builds your authority and it demonstrates your empathy, because those are the two primary components of what trust actually is. And the only reason that people don't move forward with either showing up to their visit or move forward with the package, the number one reason they don't buy is because they just don't trust you. They don't believe that it's going to be worth their time. And so the objection prehab funnel is all about how do we get them in a state of mind where they know that this is going to be worth their time and that they're excited that they finally found someone who actually understands them and that they can believe in the outcome that you're promising. Because most people have tried a lot of different things. They've heard so many promises, and those promises almost always fall wildly short of the mark. And so if you look at just people's like spending on healthcare and wellness, like even though our economy is in a really crazy spot right now, people are spending more out of pocket for health and wellness services than they ever have before. And so what this system does is it educates and curates a journey that gets people to know your brand before they actually buy, is really what it's all about. I know that was kind of like a brain dump, but hopefully that makes sense.
Now, obviously, they can reach out to you guys to potentially implement the whole game plan or whatever. But is the front end, is it mostly Facebook ads? Is it something on their website that's like a form, like something that's trying to qualify or filter someone in or out? Like, what's kind of like the first step that a prospective patient might be entering if a practice owner has this?
It's going to be content, actually. And so what we're doing is we take very simple, very easy content to shoot. That's not super edited, anything like that. It's the most important thing is that it's authentic and that it's relatable, where we're demonstrating value. We're allowing our prospects to put a face to the brand, because today more than ever, we're living in a society where people are so sick of brands who have burned them that they actually want to get to know the people behind the scenes. They want to know who's running this ship and do I like them? Do I trust them? Before they actually interact with that business. And so the front end is making sure that we're putting things out there to build awareness around who it is that we actually are before we put an offer in front of them. And so the Facebook ads is definitely like the fastest and easiest way to find fast growth with making the system work, but it is only one small piece. The secret isn't Facebook ads. As I said, it's an ecosystem. So our marketing system, it involves Facebook and Instagram ads. It involves your website, because when people see your content, when people interact with your ads, they're then going and researching you. They're seeing, is this person legit? They're finding our websites. They're reading the articles and the information we have on there. They're seeing our Google reviews. And those two things combined also enhance the organic efforts that we're actually putting out there, because the businesses that we're interacting with to build referral relationships, they've also seen our ads. They've seen our faces before. And because those other strategies are bringing cash flow into the business, we're able to interact with referral partners on an even playing field, where we're not coming up to them with our hands out hoping for referrals, where we're kind of acting out of desperation for something to happen where they're much less inclined to want to work with you when they can smell that. And we can always sense when someone needs something. And when we have these other marketing channels that are building our authority and bringing cash flow into the business, we're able to bring an entirely different energy to those conversations because we don't need them to work. And not needing them is simply enough to make those people want to work with you too, because winners want to work with winners. And so Facebook ads, yes, that's what we're known for. Has been known for as the Facebook ads guys for years now, but it's just one small piece of the puzzle.
Got it. So content, leading with content. And now do you help your practice owners with like specifically like make a video answering this type of question, or just talking specifically about this topic, but then don't mention X, Y, or Z, or try to limit the word insurance to a certain amount of times? Or do you have like some type of a framework around that content? Because obviously therapists are usually going to make content like the brochure website version of content.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, this is much easier than that. It's almost like the less you think about it and the less you try, the better it performs because of the authenticity piece of it. And so there's three primary types of content that we put together. There's value content where we're just teaching them, simple ways to ease your plantar fasciitis or ease your shoulder pain or your knee pain or hip pain while you're running. Very simple things that people can do to help solve their problem on their own. Because if they can solve their problem on their own, well, then they're probably not great fit patients because they're not going to be fit for a long-term care plan if they can just do a couple quick exercises at home and the problem solved. And so we do everything we can to solve our prospects' problem, because when they try it and it doesn't work, then it's like, okay, I know I need help. And then we overcome the I want to try it myself objection because we already know that they've already tried and it didn't work. And then the other piece of content is day in the life sort of stuff. Like, what's it like actually at your practice? How are you interacting with your patients? What are your patients actually doing? What are you and your team actually like? Are people who come and commit to 6-10 visits with you, are they going to feel comfortable in their space? And is it an environment that they feel like they can belong to? Does it align with who they are as people? And then the third piece of content is just case studies. And this doesn't have to be patient interviews. I know it can be challenging to find the time and space to get a patient in to actually record a video with them. And it can be awkward to ask them to do it. If you feel comfortable doing it, by all means, definitely do it. It's going to be better. But what we found also works incredibly well is just you sitting on a treatment table, telling a story of a patient that's relatable to the people you're trying to bring in. And so those are the three primary types of content that we push out there that are fast, they're easy to use, doesn't require you to dance, doesn't require you to be, this super energetic presence on camera. It's just being exactly who you are and taking the knowledge that you already have and just giving it selflessly to your community. And then putting some budget behind it so people see it.
Of course. I thought I knew you and I didn't, because I thought the third one was going to be an offer, but it was a case study. So I thought I knew Jordan Mather, but
no, that comes next. So when we push out this style of content that builds awareness, then we're able to retarget everyone who has viewed those ads, and then we can put an offer in front of them. But we don't want to put an offer in front of them until they're aware of who we are, because and you can be massively profitable in your ads without doing the awareness piece. But what we found over the last 6 months, as we've really started to grow and expand the objection prehab funnel, is that when we do put content in front of it, it drastically reduces our cost per acquired patient. And when they do show up, it's less of convincing and more like order taking, because they've already vetted you as someone that they want to work with. And once they've built that connection with you where they feel like you understand their problems better than anyone else does, it doesn't matter what you cost because they've already built that emotional connection.
Got it. Now, what about a sidebar question? So let's say you're running these ads, you're helping these practice owners with these ads, and the practice owners have prospective patients in the community commenting on the content or the content pieces, or even the Facebook ad offer. They're commenting publicly, hey, do you take Health First? Hey, do you take United Healthcare? Obviously, you're probably going to suggest like send them a DM, whatever, try to chat with them, maybe try to push them into a phone call and try to get them on the phone. Is that something that you guys kind of cover? Is like, it seems like a common occurrence from all these other Facebook ads that I've seen.
100%. So there's three main ways to overcome insurance objections. You have to acknowledge, redirect, and then reframe it. So if someone comments it on one of your ads or on any of your content, you don't want to just ignore the question and just say, hey, I'm sending you a DM. But you also don't want to have that conversation in the comments either. And so what you want to say is that many of our patients do have United Healthcare insurance. We can definitely talk about how insurance plays into your treatment plan. I'm going to send you a message with more details.
Perfect.
Right.
Love it.
And it's the same for the most part when you're on the phone as well. You acknowledge it, and then you say that most of our patients do have insurance. And then you basically want to reframe it around like, but before we even get into that, I just want to make sure that I can actually help. And even if I can't, I'm going to refer you to someone in town who I know will be too once I have more context. So listen, John, like, tell me a little bit more about what's going on. So acknowledge it, don't ignore it, and anticipate it as well. No, a lot of people get so defensive and their voice inflections and their tonality completely shift. The pace in which they're talking completely changes because they're afraid of that question showing up. And so just expect every single person is going to ask it and get excited that they're going to ask it. Because if you can remain confident and calm, your prospect is going to remain confident and calm. If you get defensive, and it doesn't matter what you say, how you say it is how your prospect is going to perceive anything that you say. So if you're defensive or you hate that question, you're going to put your prospects in a defensive state of mind.
And historically, like I had done a ton of these callbacks for our prospective patients, thousands over the past 5 or 6, whatever years. So sometimes I've seen it be beneficial when myself or someone that's on my team calling the patient back, if we say the word insurance first, like, so I'll say like, hey, Jordan, like, we'll talk about insurance cost and potential logistics. I say potential logistics because we're traveling to our patients' homes. So say, hey, Jordan, like, we'll talk about insurance cost and potential logistics in a second, but back to what you said, let me make sure that we're the right fit for each other, because I don't even know if, first of all, I don't know if I have a therapist that covers your address, or I do, but I need to make sure that we are specialists in your issue or condition, because if not, I need to refer you to my network, which you also said.
Yeah, no, and that's beautiful. And I think the main thing that people like struggle with is that they forget what a discovery call is. It's not an opportunity for you to sell someone and smash them into your schedule. That person is calling you not to find out if you take their insurance. They're calling you because they need help. And if you can just focus that conversation, not on getting them on the schedule, but reframe it around like, what's going on so I can help you, you're going to book way more evaluations and you're going to get way less resistance on the insurance side, because nobody else takes the time to genuinely try to help this person before getting them scheduled.
Got it. Okay, so we talked about the 3 content pieces. Then you guys will do a paid ad offer based off of who viewed those 1, 2, or 3 content pieces. What would be the next step?
Yeah, so basically running the awareness ads, we're running the targeted offer ads. The next piece is making sure that we have a lead nurturing system that is conducive to making sure that our prospects feel that this is, again, I always say head and shoulders above everything else. Because if after they opt in, the experience that they have between the time they opt in and the time they actually show up to that evaluation, if it feels exactly like everything else they've ever opted into, if it feels just like every other traditional clinic that they may have tried to go to, what are they going to do? They're going to assume that you're exactly like every other solution that they've ever tried, and you're going to find more resistance. And so we need to make sure that our lead nurturing systems, once we acquire a lead, exceeds expectations and makes them feel like, my gosh, like, where's this been the whole time? And it continues to build the momentum that the lead created when they first opted in. So for instance, what we do is when a new lead opts in, not only do we send them, of course, like the emails and like the texts congratulating them on securing one of our final offers and slots this month, but we also make sure that we send them a video that's basically like our pillar content that's going to outline what it actually means, like working with us, what they can expect when they, 1, have a call with us, and 2, if they decide to work with us, what the situation is actually going to look like. So they have, we don't rely on their preconceived notion of what physical therapy is to guide their buying decision. We want to show them immediately how we're vastly different than anyone else that they've actually worked with, and push them towards having that discovery call. Because no matter what, even if they schedule an appointment right away, we don't want to let them in until we have that conversation so that we can set the right expectations and not waste anybody's time.
Got it. Love it. No comments or questions from that, but it seems like you guys have had enough reps at this. Like you've kind of figured it out from running so many ads, working with so many practice owners. You've seen what works, what hasn't. There's been Facebook tweaks and changes, Facebook, Instagram changes. Have you seen much of a change in the past 5 or 6 years on the consumer prospective patient side of things in terms of like their behavior during COVID, now post-COVID? Like, have you seen their changes with like, are they more skeptical? Are they less skeptical? More resistance, less resistance to your practice owners, like what they're putting out there, what they're offering, how they're interacting with their local communities?
They're more resistant than ever, because buyers are more sophisticated than ever. They've been hit by so many marketing messages and so many, especially ever since Alex Hormozi's book, $100 Million Offers, came out. That was honestly so bad for so many industries. Love Alex, and it's an incredible book. Everyone should read it. But what happened is it flooded the market with people who thought running a business was just around creating a crazy offer, but they didn't have the experience to actually deliver on any of those offers. And so, especially like in physical therapy, people are very numb to traditional tactics. And so now more than ever, it's so important that we have pattern interrupts, not just in our ads. I know it's a term for like to stop the scroll and get someone to click, but we have to also have pattern interrupts between the times we actually acquire that lead and sell them on a service. And so we have to do what's unexpected at every single turn. And the more we can do that, the more refreshing it is to people and the more their resistance starts to come down. And so most practices are struggling because they're all copying the same stuff without ever asking themselves, is the person I'm copying actually generating sales?
Wow. Also, so like, I don't want to treat patients. I want to grow my practice. Ben Boggy's busy. He's growing his practice. He doesn't treat, or he doesn't want to treat patients.
Yeah.
Any tips? Obviously, if you're solo, if you're working with Jordan, you're thinking about, what you guys do. If you're solo, obviously you're going to have to be the one doing the video content. Any tips or strategies or experience with a practice that's multiple therapists? Maybe the owner has to pay the therapist for the time, or that's included in their salary or their work week or whatever to create some of this content. Any pros or cons to that? Any experience or repetition of that? Because I would want to film my therapist, but then what if, they're not going to be as charismatic as you and I. They're not going to be like the same confidence level and understand inflection points and tonality and pauses or whatever it might be, like that type of stuff. So like maybe we could train our top therapist to do that. Any tips or strategies with a multi-therapist practice in getting that content recorded, but for a practice owner that wants to get out of treatment and wants to grow the practice but still potentially do this whole funnel?
Yeah. So you can, let's talk about like the logistical side of things too. So you mentioned like the solo practice owner, like it sounded like you were alluding to like, when do I have time to do this sort of thing? So number one, it's like all things, you have to make time and you have to really be disciplined with managing your time and your calendar. And so for me, for example, like every week on Tuesdays in the morning, I block off 3 hours to record my short form content. And that takes, an hour and a half to pump out 3 very simple ideas. And you don't spend hours writing a script, figuring out what to say. You just wake up feeling that day. What do you feel like is passionate, that's top of mind that you can talk about? And then let volume take care of the rest. You're going to find a few that do really, really well. And then those are going to carry you for the next several months. And so it's not as big of a commitment as people think. It's just the fear and the uncertainty around like, what do I record? What are people going to think about it? That really hangs people up. And if you just put it out there and just figure out what works and realize and accept that the first few probably might not work that great. But if you're consistent with it and every week you record 1 to 3 videos and just test them, then you're going to find the ones that work really well. You're going to find that confidence. So on the logistical side, just along with your admin stuff, find a day where you feel like, hey, I usually have some pretty good energy around this time. Have a good morning routine. Once that morning routine is done, punch out 3 videos. You'd be amazed at how quickly you get it done. If you just have one video that you kind of wrote out like an idea for, once you record that, you'd be shocked at how many new ideas you just have right off the cuff. And then you end up recording like 4 more, and it takes you half the time it took to record that one. So block off the time, be disciplined with it, and realize that this isn't just a tedious thing to do on your to-do list. This is what's standing between you and, one, having the growth that you want to have, and B, it's what you need to put out there for the prospects that need your help right now to be able to find you. And so you have to understand the why behind it versus viewing it as just like a to-do item. Now, when you have a team and you want to have more of your team members creating some of the content, if you're going that route, you don't need to go that route. But if you do, make it a team exercise where it's usually most people have some sort of time blocked off to kind of regroup as a team and kind of talk about the week, talk about what's working, what's not, strategize. Do the same thing. Like an hour before things open up, have a sprint where each of you are going to record 2 videos. And it's a fun, energizing thing where everyone can kind of feed off each other's ideas and support one another. And that's a really easy way to get a lot of content done quickly. But you can also, as the owner, because you're the one who has the time, you can focus on creating those videos. And a lot of people worry, it's like, well, then everyone's going to want to treat me. That's not true if you handle it correctly. So, for example, like what we do is for our clinics, they're all hiring their first PTs because we work with pretty early stage practices for the most part, and we help them hire like their first PT, and now they have their time back. They're making the content. And so what we do is when leads once leads book a call, then our new patient onboarding system kicks in, which is a whole nother piece of the objection prehab funnel, where the first video they get is obviously a welcome, here's what to expect. But in there is also a video of the CEO, the person whose content that everyone sees, the people whose face sees. It's a video of them and the treating PT doing an introduction video where it starts off with the CEO, the face they know, hyping up their PT, talking about how incredible they are. And then the PT taking over, like, hey, I can't wait to get you in here. Here's what you can expect. And then they kind of tee up the logistics of what's going to happen. And what happens is all the credibility and trust that they give you, you just passed into this person. And then after they get that video, the next day, there's a pre-recorded personalized video from the treating PT that, again, reaffirms and validates them for taking the next step and scheduling an appointment. Make sure that they know about the evaluation accelerator form to fill that out, and that they're really excited to see them. And so that's how, if you're the solo person making the content, you can pass that authority to your PTs while also creating just a really good experience and helping that prospect build a relationship with the treating PT, thus helping improve the probability of converting them later.
Love it. And so I didn't do this with a content piece, but I did this recently with a new therapist we just hired a week or 2 ago. And that new therapist was taken over from another therapist of mine who moved out of the area. And I had to contact all of the previous therapist patients and say, hey, I have this new therapist and he's taking it over for my other therapist, patients in Manhattan in this area. And, but then part of my evaluation process, or the interview process to interview a new therapist, is an in-person evaluation. So I'm the fake patient, they treat me. Then I can tell my patients, hey, so-and-so is actually treated my back, because it's actually true. He did do hands-on manual therapy. We created a fake case. I mean, I'm stiff everywhere. I work out all the time. So like I do have aches and pains. So it's actually true. Now we didn't turn it into content, but I was actually able to somewhat, or hopefully, transfer some of that authority over to him. And he's a brand new therapist. There is no concept. There's no video history of him, nothing, but it's the current patients hopefully trusting in me that I have this new therapist for them because my old therapist left.
Right. And that's really, really smart. The more credibility you can give them, the more examples that you can provide of how world-class of a clinician they actually are, the better. But you can also, if you don't have that and you hired a new grad, for example, I like your suggestion even better than this, but you can also just talk about like who they are as a person, like their hobbies, the things that your prospect is going to relate to, and speak to like their character and their skills just as an overall clinician of why you hired them in the first place. All of those are really good things to have in there.
Awesome. So all of this is kind of leading up to booking that call. Then on that call, we're kind of filtering them in or out, and then booking the evaluation or not. Is that pretty much the where we're at in this conversation?
Yeah. It's, so we've talked about warming up your audiences, putting offers in front of people who already know you, and then once we actually get them in the schedule, making sure that we're nurturing them in a way that breaks their expectation of what working with a normal like healthcare worker actually is like, where there's a lot of transparency, there's a ton of empathy being built, where we're showing them that we understand them better than anyone else does, because these ads are hyper specific around different populations and very specific problems. And we know those people really well. And so we make sure that they feel like our entire practice is basically specializing in this one thing, because each of our lead nurturing systems are tailored to whatever offer or problem someone came into our system with. And then from there, pushing them to get on a call with us. And then on that call, focusing not on getting them on the schedule, but providing authentic and genuine value, and really focusing on defending the schedule almost more than trying to get people on it, so that when we do recommend that they schedule with us, they can feel how convicted we are in saying like, you're a really good fit for this, but let me tell you why. And then breaking down like someone just like them who has worked with, and laying out the process, and then having the discussion about rates, so that everything is out there on the table and in the open before they ever show up for that evaluation.
Got it. Awesome. And then at that point, then the evaluation, you guys will present the package, either one or more options. I mean, that's kind of like the close of this whole loop.
Yes, there's one more step in between, the patient onboarding process. This is incredibly important. This is a piece that nobody gets right, because everyone's basically sending appointment reminders and a welcome email that has intake forms and what to expect, what their address is, all that. That, again, is what consumers have come to expect. Okay, what we do is we anticipate that once we've had the conversation about our cash rates over the phone and we get them bought into that process, is what's going to happen as soon as they hang up that phone.
They might start doubting, or they might have questions. They're not sure if they're making the right decision. I don't know. What else?
Yeah, it's exactly right. They're not sure if they just got tricked into paying cash for something that their insurance would cover by good salesmanship. And so we call this scheduler's remorse. And so what's going to happen, there's two things that are going to happen with scheduler's remorse. They're either going to not show up because they started to doubt the process and you made it sound really good on the phone, but then the experience they got between the time they scheduled and the time they actually showed up wasn't in alignment with the experience that you said that they were going to feel. And so they're either going to ghost you and just not show up, or they're going to decide that, hey, I really like them. I want to see what's going to happen. Maybe it is as good as they say, but maybe it's not. And then they are going to preemptively decide that they're just going to come in for the evaluation to feel things out, to gain information. And so in that case, they're showing up before the evaluation, having already decided they're not going to buy. And no matter how good of an evaluation you do, that's when they're going to have a conflict within themselves of like, well, I said I wasn't going to do this. And they're going to throw spouse objections at you. They're going to throw, I need to think about it at you. They're going to think, I need to talk to my MD because they trust them more. And so if we don't overcome scheduler's remorse, it creates a lot of sales pressure on the front end, and your no-show rates are going to be higher, especially when we're advertising using paid ads and we're scaling beyond just referrals and word of mouth, because they're much more skeptical audiences. And so during the new patient onboarding stage, we need to really, really validate them for making that decision, sharing proof of what our process is and why it's unique and different from anything else that's out there. Stories that prove that system actually works, and addressing why they need to solve this problem right now. And also in the intake paperwork that we provide them, it has to also feel different than anything else they've already filled out. So we do we kind of integrate motivational interviewing into our intake paperwork so that it is completely different than anything that they've tried. And it does start to expand their thinking of what they're really coming in to solve and what it is that they truly want to achieve, so that we're not selling shoulder pain or hip pain or back pain. We're selling getting them back to not just running marathons again, but also like competitively running marathons again and preventing future injuries from happening, and realizing that most of the ailments that the majority of people believe is just a fact of life, that having to give up this hobby or this passion is an inevitability as a part of aging, realizing that that's actually a choice. And that's something that we can help completely prevent for you, so you can keep doing this for as long as humanly possible. And so those are all the things that during the initial onboarding or new patient onboarding is happening between the time they schedule their appointment and show up. And that's the secret piece that's getting people to decide that they want a package before that evaluation actually happens, so that when you recommend a plan of care, they hand you a wad of cash. Like we had one of our clients just shared a picture of a client who just walked in with $2,200 and just slammed down the table, didn't say a word about insurance. There were zero objections, just handed them a wad of cash and scheduled those visits. And so if you don't do all that stuff before the evaluation, you're putting so much pressure on yourself to be able to convince someone of your value in the 15 minutes at the end of the visit when you're actually recommending your treatment plan.
Awesome. Incredible. I do want to try to save some time I want to ask you about Facebook ads versus Google ads separately from this. So anything else from the objection prehab funnel that we skipped over? I mean, we covered a ton of ground. You gave a ton of actionable items. Anything else? I mean, we closed the loop there, or is there any like other major step?
One last piece. And then there's always details that you can do to sharpen this stuff, but how we run our evaluation also really, really matters. If it feels just like the evaluation they had at another clinic, again, they're going to perceive that they're going to get the same outcome that they got at that clinic. And so there's 3 goals that we have during our evaluation. We want to create momentum within that patient so that they feel that within that 60 minutes, they made more progress than they had with anything else they'd ever tried. And so the 3 things is we want to create an emotional win, an emotion-based win, where we're shifting some sort of belief in them of what's actually possible for themselves and what they can accomplish. Number 2 is an action-based win, which proves to themselves and reinforces that new emotional belief that, hey, this is actually working. And then there's an outcome-based win, where they can actually feel that they've made progress during this session. And now they're forced to believe that, what can I accomplish with 6 to 10 more of these sessions? And so the evaluation, very important in how you construct this, making sure that we're not just focused on the clinical side, but we're focused on the emotional, mental side of the prospect, because buying cash physical therapy is an emotional decision more than it is a logical one. Buying cash physical therapy will never be more logical than using your insurance that you pay a high monthly premium for every single month. And so we have to focus on the emotional state of our prospects as much, or if not more, than the logical reasons why people should join or sign up for one of your packages.
Love it. Love it. Hey, it's Dave Kittle. Are you a healthcare business owner or physical therapy practice owner who is looking to figure out your succession plan or exit strategy? We might be able to help. And in fact, we may be interested in acquiring your practice. If you're interested, you can reach out to me. Shoot me an email at dave@conciergepainrelief.com. That's DAVE at CONCIERGE painrelief.com. Or you can call me at any time, 646-781-8884.